Okay, today we're going to go over how to do time series adjustments to bring old sales into the future. Okay, so first off, you're going to need to get some data. Um, I have some data here. Let's see, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, here's my data. Gross, right? Yeah, let's open Excel. Okay, Excel's really good because you can import data. I would definitely use this feature if you're not already, or use your CAMA system to grab your sales, MLS system, whatever you have. Wherever you're getting your sales, it doesn't matter. The important part is that you can get the data into Excel. And now, today, I'm not really going to go over too much on how to actually import data into Excel. There's lots to do in Excel, and if you want to learn more about the specifics of what you can and can't do in Excel, um, definitely look at YouTube. There's lots of resources. Okay, so I'm going to want the parcel ID, the situs. I need the sale, right, amount, and the sale date, and I'll grab the sale code. And another thing, maybe area. Let's get what size? What is it? Square feet? Square feet? What is this? What is it called here? Let's see. Building type? No, no, no. Quality? No. Grade? No. Stories? Alt SF? No. Hmm. Well, what's SF? Okay. Building SF. Perfect. Okay, that's what I want. Parcel, situs, amount, date, code. Great. All right, so like I said, you need to be able to get data into Excel because I'm using Excel and it's very common. I think if you don't have a modern version of Excel, um, you could you can look for a version of Excel. This one is way too expensive, $120 or whatever. This is 60 bucks for 2021. Not bad, right? 2019, you can get a license for $40. Okay, 2019 365. Don't go with 365. Personally, I hate 365, but yeah, get Excel if you can. If you can't, I don't know, figure out how to do this in some other software. So what we've got is we've got our parcel identifier, we've got our address, we've got our sale price, we've got our sale date, code, etc. It's in this table. First off, if you don't have a table, you want to apply filters to the top of your table. If you don't know how to do that, I have a custom ribbon set up here, but all you do is you select the row, you click home, you go to sort and filter, and you apply filters here. Okay, now that we have filters on, we want to filter out first. We don't want sales with a $0 transaction. And let's just sort these real quick, smallest to largest. $1 transactions. I don't care about $1 transactions. In fact, I'll probably not care about anything less than $10,000. So let's go number filters. Um, let's say greater than $10,000. Okay. And now we've got sale codes. I know from knowledge of my MLS system, my CAMA system, I need these 1Gs. I don't want M's, SVR, 2D, 2KC, 2SVL. Let's see. Don't want threes. Yeah, that's good enough. All right. There we go. And we have a lot of blanks on our building square foot. We don't want this. We want parcels with buildings on them. Okay, so let's do that. Why do I have this blank here? Okay, let's just make sure we're not having any blanks here. Great. And sale dates. So we have sale dates going back quite a few years. Let's just get the last maybe 4 years or so. All right, so here's our data that we're going to use, and what I'll do is, since I have this all filtered and everything, I'm going to select this table and and copy it over as values so we don't muck things up. Quick way to copy a table. Just click in the top left cell of the table, press Control A. You're going to select the whole table. Press Control C. You'll copy. go into a new sheet, right click, paste as values. Okay, there we go. Now we have our values. Sale date. Look at the format. It's messed up. So I'm going to press Control. Control is always going to make you pop to one side or the other, up, down, left, right, whatever. Control down, pop to the bottom. Control Shift up. That's going to select all my stuff. And now I'm going to just right click. I'm going to go to Format Cells, and I want to format these as dates. Perfect. Okay. So first off, if we apply filters to our top row again and sort, we'll see our sales are sorted. And now we're just going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to select column D, Control X, and insert cut cells. Now this isn't a tutorial on how to use Excel. This is a tutorial on time series adjustment. So if I'm going a little bit too fast in Excel and you really don't know how to do this, maybe take some, think about taking some Excel classes. So first off, Control Shift, let's see, Shift down, select that stuff, insert. I want a scatter plot. There we go. Cut. Top of the page, paste, bam. So now we have our price versus date. And you can see we've got quite a few outliers here, actually. Let's see, after about $2 million, it's kind of like a different market. So let's look at a different graph, right? We want to sort this number filters. We want less than or equal to $1.5 million. Perfect. Okay, that's decent, right? Got a lot of data there, a ton of data, and this is all really not sorted in terms of like geographic area or neighborhood, which it would be useful in a formal regression analysis for specific purposes. But as a general example, this is going to give us a good start, because what I'm going to do is not only am I going to predict what our time adjustment is, I'm going to test what our time adjustment is. Okay, so I'm going to say we're gonna first split our data set up, so we have some stuff that we can model, and then we have some data that we can test our model with. So first off, I'm gonna do just a random number, okay, and that's the formula random. Okay, and if you don't know much about Excel formulas, I would maybe try to learn. So copy, paste as values, X, paste. Good. Now these random numbers are fixed. Apply filters here. And what do we want to do? What do we want to do? Well, we want to look at, so first off, number filters less than or equal to $1.5 million, and we want random numbers less than 0.5. Cool. There's half of our data set. Awesome. So what we can do is we can add a trend line. Yeah, okay, I can't see that trend line, so let's bump up the width. Let's change the dash type. Let's change solid. Let's change this to red. Perfect. So there we have our sales amount, and there's a regression line. Let's display the equation here. Okay. Bump that up. I can't see that. Bump that up. And so that's our time adjustment, 53.11. So this is saying every day since 2021, on average, we're having a price increase of roughly $53 per day. Okay, so if I had a sale from 30 days ago and I wanted to adjust it, I would just take this figure and multiply it by 30, add that to the sales price, and that would be my 30-day time adjustment. Now, I did see in the class that I watched, some people had questions on how do you turn this figure into a percent, because the class I watched, they said, just ignore this, ignore the intercept, ignore the intercept. That's meaningless, and we can go into why that's meaningless. Well, it's not meaningless. It's just meaningless in this current application. And the reason that this is meaningless is because our x variable time, the sale date. This is actually going to say, what's the y-intercept? So when time equals 0, and just an artifact of how Excel works, when time equals 0, well, time equals 0 is like 1900 or something like that. And we don't want our starting price at 1900. We want our starting price at whatever the average starting price was here at the beginning of our period, right? Because percent change is normally calculated as the difference over the period divided by the beginning or initial value for that period. And our study period begins here at 1-4. So how we're going to fix this? How do we fix this? Well, first off, we need to know how many days since the beginning of our starting period. So we're going to make another column called days, and we're going to type equals days. Okay, days, and this is a formula with an end date and a start date, and we want the end date to be the current date that it's looking at, and the start date to be, well, the starting date, January 4th, and we're going to lock that by pressing F4. So let's see, days, 0 days. This is days since. Let's be specific. Days since Jan 4, 2021. Okay, so days since Jan 4, 2021, this is 0 because it is the 4th itself. Let's fill this column. It might take a little bit, but let's see if it works. So 1 day, so January 5th, that's 1 day since January 4th. Perfect. So now we've got days since January 4th, and we've got our sale amounts. So let's just graph those now. So select them, insert, scatter plot. Here we go. Oh, we've got the wrong axes, so let's select data, remove, add. Okay, series name is going to be sales amount, X values is here, and Y values are these. And what I'm doing to jump up and down, Control Shift up, Control Shift down, whatever you have, there you go. All right, so now we've got this formatted properly. And you'll see it's basically the same chart as before, except this time it starts at 0. We don't have dates. We have sales amount versus days since January 4th, 21. Yeah, so let's add a trend line here, and let's format this so that we need a solid line and bump that up a little bit and change the color and change the type, and there we go. We've got another line here. So let's get on this line. We want the r squared. So we don't really care about the r squared because in this case it's not gonna. This is a correlation coefficient, and it's gonna tell you how much variance in the y data is predicted by the X data. And this isn't very useful for time series, but it can help you in terms of like fitting a better model, because there are things that we can do to clean this data. We can remove outliers, we can kind of adjust for neighborhoods and all this stuff, stratify on size and neighborhood and property type, property quality, number of stories, etc., etc., pretty much ad infinitum. The problem with stratification is you're going to run into issues where you're going to have a lack of sales data, and that's just what it is. I mean, when you're doing regression, it's safe to say if you have less than 30 sales in your data set, you need to kind of aggregate to a larger strata. Okay, so let's not worry too much about r squared. That was just a little quick rundown. If you want to learn more, of course, you can always grab a book on econometric modeling. Okay, sorry for the staggering on that. But anyway, now that we have our dates in terms of days since the beginning of our start date, our y-intercept here is actually going to tell us more information. And it's actually very useful because that y-intercept is going to tell us what is this value on our trend line at the beginning of our start period. That's equivalent to saying what's the average value of sales on January 4th, the beginning of our period. So the first coefficient, 53.106, that is our daily dollar change. Okay, and this next number, 532,708. Well, that's our initial average value. Okay, or initial average sale price, using sale price as a proxy for value. Alrighty, so we have these two numbers, and what do they tell us? Well, the first number tells us the daily dollar change, and the second number tells us the initial average sales price. And so if we take, like I said, if we take the difference over the period and divide it by the initial value for that period, we're going to get a proxy for percent change. Okay, so this is going to give us a percentage time adjustment. So percentage time adjustment, that's going to be equal to, well, our daily change divided by our initial sales price. Let's format this as a percent, and there we go. So over the course of this period, 3-year period, give or take, we have a time adjustment of about 1% per day. Okay, so 1% per day. What's that as a monthly? That's a monthly time adjustment factor. Well, a monthly time adjustment factor would be this daily factor times 365 days per year divided by 12 months. Format as a percent, and we've got a monthly time adjustment factor of about 0.30. So what's more important than calculation is the interpretation. So how do we interpret this value? Well, we can say the monthly time adjustment factor for all properties in this particular data set is roughly equal to 0.30% per month since January 4th, 2021. Now, if you look at a different time period, you're going to have a different monthly time adjustment factor. And that just goes to show that the rate of appreciation or depreciation of property values, whether they're improved or vacant land, the rate of appreciation isn't constant for land. Okay, and that kind of makes sense intuitively when you think about it, that we expect lower sales in the winter and higher sales in the summer. And so, yeah, that rate of growth will have to change to kind of ebb and flow with the different seasons we see in the market. So that's that. That's how we do a percentage monthly time adjustment factor. And like I said, if you want to improve this study, what I would recommend to do is to start to stratify these properties and maybe break them out based on where they're located, neighborhood, etc. Different features of the property, what's the building quality, how old is it, the size, etc. Land coverage ratios, that's really important as well. If you have a set of properties with land coverage ratios between 0.5 and 0.8, those are going to be much more comparable than if you had a data set that had land coverage ratios between 0.1 and 0.95, you see, because a land coverage ratio of 0.1 indicates there's an abundance of excess land on that property, where land coverage ratio 0.95, there's very little, and so those would likely not be very comparable properties. And so the way to make your time adjustments better is to understand how your data is distributed and to understand what that typical building or typical lot in the area that you're studying is, and stratifying to kind of bracket in and hone in on what that typical lot is. Then this time adjustment factor would be very good for what you've stratified for. So that's all I've got today. I'm sure there's a lot more that we can go into. Like I said, today's class wasn't about learning how to use Excel. Today's class was about understanding time adjustments and understanding how to get percentage time adjustments in Excel. So if you have any questions, you feel free to email me. My email is cbmarriott@icloud.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Connor Marriott 88. You can follow me there, ask questions on how to get these time adjustment factors. I would be happy to help. And yeah, that's that. Thanks for watching.